Greetings, one and all, to the most cursed, most cringiest corner of the internet. A YouTube channel content creator, actively alienating everyone, both the analog and digital world. Well, welcome and good evening, wonderful dice of all alignments. I am Lunar D8. Keiichi-kun, you've been making a really weird face. Why, I wonder. I wonder. Inhaling sharply upon hearing Rena's voice, I came back to my senses. Before I had realized it, we were already at the entrance, shaking my head a few times. I exorcised all those terrifying thoughts. No matter how you looked at it, there's no way Rena could have done such terrible things. It was like I was trying to placate myself. As I slid the door open, a blackboard eraser loaded with chalk dropped down on my head the moment I stepped into the classroom. The chalk dust went in my eyes, inducing a brief moment of agony. Oh, how befitting for the truant, Keiichi-san. Good morning to both of you, Keiichi and Rena. Good morning, Satoko-chan, Rika-chan. Not quite in the mood for it, I didn't really react to Satoko's trap. Satoko braced herself as I passed by, expecting me to attack her. She seemed a bit disappointed as I simply walked by silently. What is this? How discouraging indeed. Keiichi doesn't seem back to his usual self yet. Yeah. Take it easy on him for today, Kei. Suddenly there was a slap on my shoulder. It hurt a bit. Hey, Kei-chan. Did you get enough rest? It was Mion. My mind was full of stuff about Rena, but Mion was also a party of interest. Remember, Keiichi, that hawkish gaze from yesterday. Yeah, morning. What's with that unenergetic greeting? Did you eat the mochi I brought you? Because I ate them. I'm like this. Those words were itching to be blurted out. I really just didn't have the appetite. I ate a few, but quite a lot were left over. What about the homework? Do you have an answer for which one was Renna's? I can't believe you'd forget your homework, Keiichi-kun. Ha ha ha. Sheesh. I got time for your penalty. Meh. Flashing a lurid smile, Mion returned to her seat. There was nothing from our exchanges that would cause our classmates to suspect anything was amiss. But of course, anyone listening to our conversations up until this morning wouldn't see anything suspicious. That was why it was so frightening. They acted in a way that, regardless of whatever happened to Keiichi Mabra, no one would ever suspect them. That fact had me terrified. Soon the teacher came. After she asked how I felt and took attendance, another dull, ordinary day began. This free study period was a convenient time to consider where I stood. I gently closed my eyes and pondered the ridiculous position I was in right now. First of all, what I shouldn't forget was how dangerous of a situation I was in. I had fallen out of favor with them. After I interacted with Oshi-san multiple times, I could see it as I was getting closer to the heart of the matter. The warning yesterday with the mochi was a good indicator of that. No, calling it a warning was just my habit of understating things. It probably had no meaning beyond stunning my progress and buying themselves some time. Until they had a method of completely erasing me. They were just biding their time. Even though they were keeping me under their thumb with threats, it didn't change the fact that I knew too much. The chilling sensation of my desk made me recall Satoshi Hajo, the boy who was using the seat until last year, when he disappeared. Was he also similar to me? Did he learn something he shouldn't have and was erased? Damn, I wouldn't let them get rid of me so easily. Never. But were they really trying to kill me? I've had these contradictory feelings for a while now. Even though I suspected them, I felt I had to cover for them. With all of their suspicious behavior, a morning like this just made it all seem like an elaborate hoax. No, that's just what I want to believe. Doubting my friends, covering for them, my life was in danger. Or was it? Actually, I was debating the wrong point, given my current situation. Those points were something that should have been deliberated on a long time ago. But really, Renna and the rest of them, were they actually trying to kill me? Were they actually aiming to kill me? The little voice inside me continued to torment me with these unresolvable trains of thought. Are you an idiot, Keiichi Mabra? The answer should be obvious. But maybe that sewing needle might have just been an accident, right? How could you screw up and drop a sewing needle into a piece of mochi? The benefit of the doubt can only go so far. Both Rena and Mion had acted and behaved suspiciously, but maybe it was all some sort of misunderstanding. What kind of misunderstanding? It wasn't just suspicious. It was outright ludicrous, right? Rena just corrected me for lying, and Mion only asked me what I had had for lunch. Rena was standing outside our door eavesdropping for a good hour, you know. She was probably just waiting for my phone call to end. For a whole hour, outside your room. And is it normal to go home afterwards without saying anything? You heard from Oshi-san, didn't you? About what Rena did at her former school. But at the hospital she said it was Oyashiro-sama's fault. She... Cut it out, Keiichi Mabra. Don't you realize they're out to kill you? I inadvertently blurted those words out. Hearing myself say that so directly left me dumbfounded for a few moments. Afterwards, I had to look around to check to see if anyone heard it. My little soliloquy cut a little too close to the truth, even though I could feel the murderous intent from running the other part of me. Somewhere was still trying to deny that. This late in the game, such hesitation could be fatal. I knew that. But I was just your average student, a man living his normal, ordinary life. Do you think I could suddenly believe that my friends who I'd been so happily laughing together with up until last Sunday now intended to kill me? Right? You're too soft, Keiichi. This time I remembered to keep my voice down so only I could hear it. There was only one thing I now understood. I was too soft. I didn't completely understand how dangerous Rena and the rest of them were. No, I wasn't trying to understand. I was too soft for listening to Oshi-san when he was earnestly showing me the heart of the matter. I didn't listen because I was too busy pretending to be dejected. I didn't comprehend it. I was just running away. I didn't comprehend it, so nobody had any notion to try and kill me. I needed to get rid of such naive thoughts. As I made that resolution, I heard the bell signaling the end of class. So soon. The day was already over. I didn't recall eating lunch or doing anything in class. My friends were putting their desks together in preparation for club activities. Not long ago, I would have happily joined into that circle. My, Keiichi-san. How rude of you to even think about leaving. The way Sotoko spoke was so typical and familiar, it almost physically hurt. Huh? Keiichi-kun, is today not a good day? I wonder. And we were going to win big together, how? Seeing Rena's expression, which said she was really looking forward to today, was hard to take. Hey, Keiichi, maybe Oshi-san is just some enormous jerk trying to separate me from the others by lying to me. Slap, trying to expunge such weak-minded thinking. I slapped myself in the face. Keiichi-kun? Yeah, was Rena really trying to kill me? I wish someone would tell me it was a hoax. I didn't care if it actually was one or not. I just wanted someone to say it. Gah, yet another weak-willed thought. How did I ever become this naive? Are you alright? Does your head hurt? Apparently that was how my inner dilemma appeared to Retta. You're pale. Can you make it home by yourself? Maybe I should accompany you home, I wonder. No, it's okay. Sorry. I can get home by myself. Just have the meeting without me. Upon hearing that I wasn't going to participate in the club meeting, Mion pouted unhappily. Since Kei-chan was so bent on a revenge match, we were going to play the deduction game from before too. Keiichi-san doesn't have the burning desire for a rematch? How pathetic. I wouldn't fall for some dumb taunt. Without even a real retort, I just grabbed my bag and was about to get up. Someone's hand perched itself gently on my head. Keiichi doesn't seem to be well. How very unfortunate. It was Rika-chan. She was stretched up as far as she could, doing her best to pat my head with her petite hand. It felt so nice, which made things even harder. Sorry, everybody. See you. That's all I said as I quickly left the classroom. They said something to me as I was leaving, but I couldn't make it out. I managed to make it all the way to the entrance in that state of mind, took out my shoes, put them on, and went forward. Hard in that heart, Keiichi Mabura. They were, for some unfathomable reason, trying to kill me. They were plotting something dubious, watching my every move. But I couldn't hate them, because weren't they my friends? Part of me lamented my naivete, while another part lamented the fact that I had lost something important by lamenting it over in the first place. It felt like the consciousness was being ripped out of my body. If this is what Oyashiro-sama's curse was like, then it was just too harsh. Hey, Oyashiro-sama, I was wrong for not believing in your curse, but I believed in it now, completely. Your curse does exist, so seriously, give me a break, I beg you, come on. Dinner was unusually bland. It had no flavor or aroma. The miso soup that normally tantalized my appetite instead tasted like nothing but boiled water. Dad was eating with us that night. It was a rare occurrence in this household. When he got into his work, he ate and slept on his own schedule. My dad never cared about the time. Since my dad was at the dinner table, it either meant he had reached a good point to take a break, or he was in a slump. So yeah. He just doesn't understand the motivation creators have. Your partnership was just a verbal agreement, wasn't it? If it's so hard to agree on things, why not just end it? I feel like it's an industry with a lot of back scratching, but when it gets in the way of business, I wasn't able to pick up much of my mom and dad's conversation, but I could tell it wasn't a very pleasant topic. That, of course, made the disgusting food even less appealing. Staring listlessly at the exchange between my parents, my mind wandered off to the same thought processes I had been going all day long. Friends close to me, no. They used to be friends, but I could no longer trust them. Right now, I was greatly lacking in allies. People I trusted. People I could depend on when push came to shove. They were something I just didn't have. Having just one ally would have been incredibly reassuring. In the currently hopeless situation I was in, I put down my chopsticks and looked over at my parents. who were still talking about work. The first course of action that came to mind was to tell my parents everything. Currently, there wasn't a single person from Hinamizawa that I could trust 100%. That meant the only people I could trust were my parents. But if I told them everything that happened up until now, would they understand? Rena, for example. That neighborly Rena who was so diligent in looking after me, came to get me every day and sometimes brought over a share of what she made? How could I explain that she wanted to kill me? No matter how I explained, it would probably be difficult for anybody to comprehend. My somewhat eccentric dad wouldn't understand, and my high-strung mom would probably drag me off to a psychiatrist in the blink of an eye. Sadly, that was the amount of trust that existed in our relationship. Even if they did come to understand, what could they possibly do? Unless they could uncover the truth, they wouldn't be able to protect me. No, by informing them of these unnecessary things, I'd be putting my parents in danger as well. Considering that the victims in the past incidents were often married couples, I couldn't even joke about it. For the entire Marlborough family to have an accident, or to just vanish for thin air, it was easily possible in Hinamizawa. What was important here was that knowing something unnecessary put you in danger. The most unsettling question was, how did they know that I knew? As long as they didn't know, my parents might not fall victim. That was one way to think about it, I guess. At least, it was like that in my case. After I found out, things started becoming odd. In other words, it meant the following. As long as my parents didn't know anything, nothing would happen to them. As long as my parents were here, this house would be safe haven for them. I knew these were just assumptions based on conjecture on top of conjecture. Wanting this house to be a safe haven, that was the pinnacle of my weak-willed method of thinking. I had to concede that it was not completely safe. It was only safer than outside. I knew that I couldn't rely on my parents. No, I couldn't risk getting my parents involved. Then the only person who could be my ally would be Oyushi-san, him and him alone. He was the only person who understood the situation I was in. He didn't care so much about my safety, but he was without a doubt passionate about solving this case. It was a bit frustrating. Oyushi-san was basically the whole reason I was in this mess. Now to get out of it, I had to rely on him. Meanwhile, it was all going according to his devices. It was just my job to look appetizing, while bobbing in the waves as bait. Then when the fish started to gather around, Oyushi-san would pull up the big haul. It was slightly infuriating, but even I thought that was the best course of action. So then, what should I do? Patience was the first rule of fishing. Just keep waiting until the fish actually bites. But I wasn't simply bait. There were lots of ways for me to struggle before being devoured. Were they struck? I needed to somehow dodge, and just enough tag out Oyushi-san. No question it was going to be hard. The timing to bring Oyushi-san in would be difficult. He was in the city, not Hinamizawa. So I phoned him in my moment of need. It would take about 30 minutes to reach me. So I needed to run away for those 30 minutes. For example, if we set up a rendezvous point in dire situations or something, I just had to hide out there until Oyushi-san arrived. Okay, I can almost see it now. I was still being chased around in the dark by the boogeymen. But now I knew which way to go. I never would have imagined this would be so reassuring. Oh yeah, it would probably be best if I had a concealed weapon for when things got rough. Typically that would call for a switchblade, but that wasn't too reassuring for combat. And since it was recognized as a weapon by the public, that was also not good. Really, when the time comes, a long weapon, like a bat, would work well in my favor. I remember there was a metal bat at school. I could be confident with that when push came to shove. If I pretended I was practicing my swing, then it wouldn't be suspicious for me to always carry it around. I could go to school early tomorrow and secure it. Just possessing a weapon may be enough to deter them. And one more thing. Insurance. It could be like something like a note or a memo. I could write down everything that's happened as a sort of journal. In case I suddenly vanish, the journal will be left behind. With my journal in his possession, Oshi-san would be sure to avenge my death. I left my parents engrossed in their conversation about work and went back to my room. I tore out a piece of paper from a notebook and made my way to my desk. Last time I wrote a journal was for summer homework in elementary school. In the off chance something bad happened, the police could use my diary as a lead. So I should only write down the facts. How should I start? I jotted down my thoughts as they came. I, Kaiichi Mabara, am in fear for my life. It made me laugh nervously. It was a line that showed up often in detective stories. I never even dreamed that I would be in the type of situation where I'd write it myself. I do not know why they are after my life. Ren and the others were suspicious, but I had no proof, and that's why I couldn't write anything more. I laughed wryly at myself for writing such a passage-draped mystery. Would the police be able to get the hint from reading this enigmatic passage? I can only pray that they would. What I prayed for most, though, was that this journal never needed to play its part. Here I laughed nervously. It was too simple. So I wrote down one more line just as thought of. The only thing I do know is that it has to do with Oya Shirasama's curse. Was that too much? I probably shouldn't write more than that. If I wrote any more, then it would seem like I was just delusional. In order to appear to the reader that the person who had written this was a sound mind, I chose not to write anything else at that point. I just needed to add more as I learned more about the truth. I folded the paper and thought about a place to hide it. By hiding it somewhere obvious, there was some chance that they would uncover it instead. On the other hand, if it was too obscure of a location, then there's a risk of nobody finding it at all. In the end, I decided to take the clock off my wall and stick the folded note on the back of it with scotch tape. After that, I put the clock back into its normal position. Yeah, it didn't look like anything was hidden behind it. Now I needed to set it up such that if anything happens to me, my parents could find it. I looked at it from countless angles until I was satisfied and made my way downstairs. My parents are still talking about work. It didn't look like it was going to end anytime soon, so I cut in. Sorry to interrupt. I have something I want to talk to you about. I never started a conversation like that before, so my parents were both startled. They stopped talking and turned toward me. What is it, Keiichi? I have a favor to ask you. Please listen. Just in case. Yeah. If it's not urgent, can we do this later? Right now, Mommy and Daddy have something urgent they're talking about. I didn't think their talk was more urgent than mine, so in case I stay my request. Just in case, okay? If I die... Both my parents' eyes went wide as saucers. If I die, I want you to put the clock on my wall in my coffin. If they did that, then they would probably find it. My memoir. Both my parents remained wide-eyed, not moving an inch. I couldn't blame them. I made that clock in the shop class, and I really like it. So please, what's the matter, Keiichi? Did something happen? Mom was finally able to ask me with a questioning gaze. Of course, this is a normal response when someone's talked about a subject like this. I felt bad about making them worry, but right now, I just wanted them to think about the clock in my room. With that awkward mood leaving the room in silence, I decided to go back up to my room. I want to go to school early tomorrow, so I'm going to bed. Good night. Saying only that, I left the room. I needed to get to school early tomorrow and secure that bat. I should make today the last day I went to school with Rena. As I climbed the stairs, I heard my mom call my name, but I pretended not to hear her. It wasn't something I could talk about with my parents. If I talked about it, it would only make things more dangerous. The fight had begun, was mine and mine alone. I couldn't rely on anybody. I wouldn't be killed, not when I still knew nothing. not feeling so hot. Keiichi-kun's been feeling down lately. Maybe he's in a bad mood? I wonder. Maybe he's on his period. Maybe me-chan, that's gross. Oh, yuck, 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 yuck. What do you think? Don't know. Could be that Kei-chan, maybe. I don't know. That day Kei-chan was in the car talking to some tubby middle-aged guy, right? Yeah, no mistake. That Oshi probably fed him something fishy. He was so serious, Keiichi-kun's face was so pale. You see, you might not know this, but he's actually the messenger of Oishiro-sama. Huh? What do you mean? Whenever he shows up, someone is steaming away. No lie. Oh? Is that so? The year before last, Rika-chan's mom drowned, right? Right before that, she visited Oshi. Now that you mention it, it happened before. Satoshi-kun transferred out. Transferred? Ah, you're so sweet, Rena. So this time he appeared before Keiichi-kun. So Keiichi-kun is going to be deemed away too? An empty silence hung in the air. And then it was suddenly interrupted by loud laughter.